Hazel Green loved the hush that always settled over Willowbrook just after sunrise, when the only sounds were her pruning shears and the murmured greetings of shopkeepers rolling up their awnings. She had inherited Green's greenery from her grandmother, and though the shop was scarcely bigger than the town's post office lobby, Hazel knew every stem, every petal by heart. That intimate knowledge was precisely why Detective Miles Carter pushed open her door on a Wednesday morning in late May, still wearing latex gloves and the faint smell of field mud, holding a single chilling bloom. It was a black rose. Not the moody maroon that sometimes masqueraded as black in catalogues, but a true onyx-coloured blossom, like spilled ink frozen in velvet. Miles set it gently on Hazel's counter between the buckets of daisies and lavender. "Tell me you recognize it," he said. Hazel blinked. "Black roses are laboratory curiosities. I've never carried one." "The rose was placed on Arthur Bell's chest sometime last night," Miles explained. "Whoever left it went to the trouble of removing every thorn." Arthur Bell, Willowbrook's beloved philanthropist, had funded the town library extension, the community garden, and half the scholarships at the high school. News of his death rattled Hazel more than she cared to admit. Miles motioned to the satin ribbon wound around the rose's stem. Imprinted on the ribbon, subtle but visible under the store's pendant lights, was Green's Greenery's logo. Hazel felt her knees weaken. "That's impossible. I never ordered ribbons in that shade. Mine are sage green. Look." She fished a roll from beneath the counter, placing it beside the evidence. Her ribbon was cheery, printed in swirling white script. The one on the black rose was almost the same, but the colour was a darker, mossy green, and the lettering a fraction narrower. A counterfeit. Someone wanted the police thinking the florist supplied the flower. Miles lifted his brows, clearly as troubled as she was. "This murder already has Willowbrook whispering. Your reputation shouldn't be dragged into it." Hazel exhaled shakily. "Let me do some digging. If there's a black rose in this county, I'll find the greenhouse it came from." The detective hesitated. After years of buying last-minute birthday bouquets from her, he knew Hazel's stubborn streak. "Fine, but call me if you learn anything, and stay out of trouble." Hazel waited until Miles departed before locking the front door and turning the sign to back in a few. There was only one person near Willowbrook who might have succeeded at cultivating a true black rose: Victor Adair, a reclusive horticulturist whose glasshouse sat in the hills north of town. He rarely sold to the public, but Hazel still had his number from an orchid emergency 2 winters ago. She dialed. Victor's voice came through, brittle as dry leaves. "Green, haven't heard from you." "Did you create a black rose?" Hazel asked without preamble. Silence hummed on the line, then the slow scrape of a chair. "I managed a cultivar called Midnight Promise, sold cuttings to exactly 3 people. Why?" Hazel's pulse ticked faster. "One has turned up at a crime scene. Who bought cuttings?" "Your philanthropist, Arthur Bell," Victor replied. "He wanted them for his wife, Camilla, before she passed. The other 2 buyers were collectors in Seattle." "Could the Seattle buyers have shipped blooms here?" "Unlikely. Midnight Promise travels poorly. Bruises in transit." Victor paused. "If someone wants fresh stems, they're cutting them locally." After hanging up, Hazel unlocked the shop, grabbed her keys, and headed for Bell Manor. She knew the property well. She delivered centerpieces there every December. The manor loomed at the edge of town, its long drive lined with beech trees, and, she realized now, a hedge that blossomed red each June, Camilla Bell's old-fashioned roses. Hazel had never noticed a black variety among them. A squad car still idled in the gravel. Hazel flashed a nervous smile at the officer on guard. "Detective Carter said I could check Arthur's conservatory. Flower identification." It was mostly true. Miles had asked her to keep him updated. The guard nodded her through. Inside, sunlight filtered through leaded panes onto white marble floors. Hazel navigated towards the rear conservatory, brushing past covered furniture and towering canvases waiting for the estate auction. The conservatory smelled of damp soil and citrus, but the rose beds along the western wall were bone dry, every stem brown and withered. Then Hazel spotted a single flourishing cluster, sleek, thornless canes, bearing the same ink-dark blooms Miles had shown her. Someone had watered only these roses recently. Silver shears lay abandoned nearby, speckled with fresh sap. Hazel counted 7 blossoms left on the bush. She guessed another 3 or 4 had been cut, one for the murder scene, and perhaps more for threats no one had discovered yet. She tugged a glove from her bag and examined the shears. The handle bore a faint scuff of mauve polish. Whoever used them likely wore nail polish, and cut at least 1 finger. A bead of dried blood marked the hinge. Hazel's thoughts jumped to Madeline Price, Arthur's charity director. She frequented the shop every gala season, always in mauve nails to match the organization's branding. Still, circumstantial evidence would never satisfy Miles. Hazel photographed the shears with her phone, then slipped out before officers noticed. Back at Green's Greenery, Hazel's assistant, Lila Hart, was arranging peonies. "You look flushed," Lila said, then lowered her voice. "Any news about Mr. Bell?" Hazel relayed what she'd learned in a whisper. Lila's blue eyes widened. Madeline adored Arthur. She wouldn't hurt him. "Love and ambition don't always bloom in the same bed," Hazel muttered, recalling how Madeline once complained that Arthur refused to elevate her from director to co-chair, despite her 20-hour days. Hazel started a list of suspects. Madeline Price, Julian Bell, Arthur's estranged son, rumoured to be cut out of the will, Edgar Lowell, construction magnate who lost a civic contract to Bell's foundation, and Mrs. Fletcher, the longtime housekeeper who'd reportedly been dismissed 3 weeks earlier. That night, Willowbrook endured its second shock. Olivia Jenner, treasurer of the Bell Foundation, was found unconscious beside the foundation's accounting offices. A paramedic friend tipped Hazel off. A black rose lay on Olivia's desk. Hazel called Miles, racing through her theory about the conservatory roses. He listened, impressed, then sighed. "The stem on Olivia's desk is from the same cultivar. I'll post an officer at the manor's greenhouse. Whoever's trimming those roses can't keep going back." "Unless they already cut enough for every intended victim," Hazel said. The next morning, Hazel stepped into the shop to find an envelope on the floor. Inside was a single thornless petal, the colour of midnight, and a typed note. "Stop digging, or the next bouquet is yours." Lila gasped when Hazel showed her. "We have to tell Miles." "We will," Hazel promised, but not before she traced the typeface to its source. She remembered Julian Bell running the print shop during his gap year before college. He'd know all the antique fonts in town, and he had a key to his father's manor. Hazel found Julian at the marina, varnishing a weather-beaten sailboat. He was taller than she recalled and wore gilt like a stiff collar. She held the petal out. "Is this your warning?" Julian recoiled. "What the hell, Miss Green? I loved my dad. I wouldn't decorate his corpse." "But you own a typewriter with this font." He gave her a tight smile. Half the hipsters in Portland use the same Smith Corona. Ask Edgar Lowell. He commissioned me to print gala programs last month. Edgar? Hazel frowned. The tycoon prided himself on sleek digital brand kits, not clacking metal letters. Julian shrugged. Money talks. Edgar paid triple my rate, asked for a rush job. All black ink on moss green stationery, but the programs never got used. Guess he changed his mind. Moss green, the counterfeit ribbon's colour. Hazel thanked Julian and hurried back through town until the Lowell building sliced into the sky. Edgar's receptionist, a twig-thin woman with sharp eyeliner, refused Hazel entry. So Hazel waited in the lobby, pretending interest in a ficus, until Edgar strode through, phone at his ear. Hazel stepped in front of him. Why did you print programs you never used? Edgar ended the call. Florist green, is it? A man can print what he pleases. Did you also print this? She flashed the note. Edgar's gaze cooled. I don't answer to insinuations. Hazel studied him. Manicured hands, clean, bare nails. Meanwhile, the scuff on the conservatory shears suggested nail polish, possibly mauve. Edgar might be funding someone else's vendetta, not wielding the flowers himself. Hazel's instincts tugged her back toward the Bell Foundation offices. The building was cordoned off, but she spotted Miles emerging, coat flapping. Olivia will recover, he reported. Someone hit her with an accounting ledger. Probably surprised her while she was working late. The ledger, Hazel echoed. Miles nodded. Open to a page of numbers circled in red pen. Embezzlement, maybe. Hazel felt pieces shift. Olivia handled finances. Madeline oversaw outreach. If money vanished, Olivia might threaten to expose Madeline and Edgar, who'd construction bid kickbacks. But why kill Arthur? Unless Arthur discovered the scheme first. Later, Hazel mulled everything over tea with Lila after closing. Rain splattered the shop windows, catching the glow of street lamps. Perhaps Arthur confronted Madeline, Hazel mused. She panicked, used his own roses as a calling card. Then she tried to silence Olivia. Edgar bankrolls the operation. Julian's typewriter supplies threats. The puzzle fits. But whose fingerprints are on the shears? Lila asked. Hazel groaned. The police lab was backlogged. Results weren't due until next week. She needed a confession sooner. An idea sprouted. Victorian floriography assigns meanings to flowers, she said. A black rose symbolizes revenge and, interestingly, new beginnings. What if the killer isn't just threatening? It's commentary on a fresh start without obstacles. Dark optimism. Very Madeline, Lila agreed. Hazel fetched her dusty floriography guide, tore out the black rose entry, and slid it into an envelope with a note. Your new beginning ends tonight. Meet me where Camilla's memory still blooms. She addressed it to Madeline Price and slipped it into the Foundation's drop box. At dusk, Hazel parked across from Bell Manor and waited. The beech trees clawed at the sky as wind picked up. At 9 sharp, headlights cut the drive. A silver sedan stopped. Madeline stepped out, trenchcoat belted, umbrella snapping open. Hazel followed at a distance. Madeline hurried to the side entrance and into the conservatory. Hazel crept to the door and pressed record on her phone. Inside, Madeline knelt by the black rosebush, whispering, "One more, then Edgar and I are clear." Her shears clicked. Hazel pushed the door, letting it groan intentionally. Madeline spun, eyes widening. Moonlight gleamed off mauve polish, identical to the smear Hazel photographed. "It was you," Hazel said calmly. "Arthur learned of your embezzlement. You argued, and in a panic you shoved him, didn't you? His heart condition did the rest." Madeline's breath rattled. He was going to ruin everything. Decades of community work, all because I diverted a fraction of funds to secure Edgar's development that would have quadrupled donations. So you staged a signature, black roses from his late wife's garden, to turn suspicion outward. You attacked Olivia when she realized numbers didn't add up. Hazel glanced at the 3 fresh roses in Madeline's satchel. Who are those for? Edgar? Julian? Me? Madeline's lower lip trembled. Just Edgar. He wants out now. Coward. Then her gaze hardened. But you should have closed your shop and minded your peonies. She lunged, brandishing the shears. Hazel stumbled back, bumping a pot. Soil spilled, making the marble slick. Madeline's heels skidded. She flailed, arms windmilling, and went down hard. The shears clattered away. Before either could move, the door burst open. Detective Carter and 2 officers rushed in, summoned by Hazel's live audio stream. Miles cuffed Madeline while reciting her rights. She didn't struggle. Her mascara ran in grey rivulets. Miles escorted her out. On the front lawn, squad car lights pulsed crimson and cobalt. Edgar Lowell emerged from another cruiser, wrists bound, having been picked up at his penthouse with ledgers and forged ribbon reels linking him to the plot. Hazel watched rain bead on the conservatory glass. The roses inside bowed their dark heads, as though mourning the chaos they'd witnessed. 2 days later, Willowbrook gathered at the library Arthur Bell built, not for a funeral. His family chose a private ceremony, but for a community potluck celebrating his legacy. Hazel arranged vases of yellow roses, Arthur's favourite, on every table. Miles sidled over with a plate of lemon bars. "You did good," he said, "though I'll need a written statement about tonight." Hazel smiled, exhaustion lining her eyes. "As long as you promise the black rose bush ends up somewhere safe, maybe the botanical garden in Seattle." "And the counterfeit ribbons?" he teased. "I'll recycle them into bookmarks. Let people remember how far some will go for greed." Lila joined them, carrying lemonade. "No more mysteries for at least a week," she pleaded. Hazel chuckled. "I can't promise Willowbrook will cooperate, but I'll try." Neighbours approached to thank Hazel for protecting the town's reputation. She accepted hugs, quietly redirecting praise to Miles and the officers. Yet when someone asked how she connected all the dots, Hazel answered truthfully, "I know my flowers, and in a town this small, every petal has a story." Later, after tables were cleared and dusk dulled the edges of Main Street, Hazel returned to her shop. She brewed chamomile, unfolded her grandmother's quilt on the settee, and listened to the clock tick. The threat was gone, the roses trimmed, the killer behind bars. But outside, the beech leaves whispered like pages turning, promising new chapters Willowbrook had yet to read. Hazel tucked her pruning shears away, secure in the knowledge that if another rare blossom ever appeared where it shouldn't, she would trace its roots, petal by petal, until the mystery unfurled.